Now, some people try to fight change. I was one of those people. I had a daughter named Caitlin. Still do. Let me start again. I have a daughter named Caitlin. And when she was 8 years old, we had the most wonderful relationship in the world. She thought Daddy was great, and I loved it, right? I mean, you dads know when you're an 8-year-old daughter, and the most expensive thing she wanted was like $14, right? So I could, I was a pretty good dad. And we just loved each other, and she'd say the things to me like, oh, Dad, I know you're going to knock him out, and let me help you pick out the tie, and I know you're going to be great. Just a wonderful relationship until the pilot moved in next door. Now, let me tell you about the pilot. The pilot is 14 years younger than I am. The pilot looks like Tom Cruise. The pilot drives a sports car. The pilot put in a trampoline. So all of a sudden, I was at Mr. Dave's house, and I was jumping on Mr. Dave's trampoline, and Mr. Dave this, and Mr. Dave that. Now, of course, with my finely tuned speaker salesman's ego, this doesn't bother me at all, does it? Yeah, right. So my wife has a little talk with Caitlin, and she says, Caitlin, your daddy's a little jealous of Mr. Dave. You got to tell him how much you love him. And Caitlin, at 8 years old, understood jealousy, so she's got it figured. So a couple weeks later, I'm calling in on the phone, and I'm talking to my wife on the phone, and I'm going, did the guy come and fix the pipe and all of that? And I can hear Caitlin in the background. Is that Daddy? Is that Daddy? And I said, put her on, honey, put her on. She's got to talk to her daddy. And Caitlin gets on the phone. She says, great news, Dad, great news. I said, what, honey, what? She said, Mr. Dave's getting a bald spot just like yours. What organizations are realizing is that I have to put a change management program attached to something new, or it's not going to work. Think of change in these terms. I like to think of change in the terms of change units. You have a new change initiative. It doesn't matter what it is. You're introducing a new product, you're taking on a new line, you're doing a new marketing campaign. And basically what's supposed to happen is it's supposed to happen right here. It's supposed to start here, and the plan says that it's supposed to end here. Makes all the sense in the world, the model works, but what typically happens is the change program doesn't end here, it ends up over here. It's kind of like body surfing in the ocean. If I'm body surfing and I get knocked down, when I go to get up, if I don't time when that next wave is, I'm going to get knocked down again. So what happens is organizations come up with the greatest plan in the world. They don't spend the amount of time looking at the change management aspect, and so things start to go wrong. People decide that they're not going to include the other team. People decide that it's not my day to worry about that. All of those kinds of issues start to play in. And what happens is your change issue or your change unit has a tendency to go over where it was supposed to be. The problem is next change unit is supposed to start, and now you've got overlapping change units. What people really want is if you're going to introduce change, I want the change to go to about here and maybe end about 8% early so I get a chance to just kind of take a breath, because that's what's so important to me about the change, is I want a chance to breathe. People don't have breathing room. Your customers are going through change. Your customers are going through dramatic change. Your customers are going through change that they never experienced in their life, because all the things we talked about, technology, competition, globalization, all of that stuff is affecting these people. So when you go to make a call on somebody, and you know what? If I'm thinking that tomorrow they're going to be firing 25 people in my division, do I really care about your value proposition today? No. I'm preoccupied with the change. So if you understand this is what my customers are going through in the change process, it makes it a little easier to sell to them. The way sales has changed because of this is just absolutely incredible. 70% of the buying decision's been made before the salesperson gets there. I want you to think about that. 70% of the buying decision has been made. Because if I'm a millennial, if I'm an X, or even if I'm a boomer, I'm going to go online and I'm going to research all that stuff, right? So when that salesperson comes to call on me, I don't need you to tell me about the features and benefit. I don't need you to tell me about the PSI. I don't need you to tell me about all of this stuff. I know that. What I want to know is, what are you going to do? We don't know what flexibility means. And more often than not, when you ask people what they want isn't as bad as you think it would be.
It will surprise you. If you could go do anything you want in the 5,000, what do you want?
Oh, I'm just waiting to see what else you come up with.
Oh. This is not The Price is Right.
Do you know where the bottleneck is in your organization? Go, I said, then it's probably you. Because ultimately what happens here is if the person knows it needs to be done, they'll go around that supervisor's back to get the job done right, won't they? And so in an environment of fear, you're not going to get pristine information. And quite frankly, guys, in the business you're in, you can't have any gilding. You got to get precise information. But if I'm afraid to tell you this, or, ooh, you're in another one of your moods, and I don't want to tell you that today, that can affect performance dramatically.
I like to go to Las Vegas, not because I'm that much of a gambler. I'm a storyteller. And if you want to get good stories, go to Las Vegas, right? And sometimes, believe it or not, I've even seen, human kindness there that you wouldn't think you'd see in that, city of Sodom and Gomorrah. When I see those kindly grandfathers that are nice enough to bring their granddaughters with all those it just breaks my, it just tears me up. It really does. Nobody wants to wait 6 months to get a performance appraisal to know if I'm doing a good job. That's stupid, right? Why don't you tell me today? Why don't you tell me at the end of the week? Okay? Now, I kind of like that from a boss's perspective. Okay, I can tweak their work and they like it. I'm not waiting 2 months to see them turn in the wrong thing. That's the way they want it to be. Yeah. I can be available for, I know a resource you can use for that. Oh, why don't you go visit so-and-so over there in technology? They worked on that project in Tokyo 2 years ago. Ooh, that's kind of neat. I've talked to people and they've said, I've left, they leave some big, I said, why would you leave a big company like that with the great benefits? Well, because my boss was a dinosaur. It was crazy. It was what? And then I've met people that said, well, I work for a company and it's kind of a little trucking company and I got a chair that sometimes the wheel works on it and sometimes it doesn't and I kind of sometimes sit like this. But I have a sick child. And whenever that child needs me off, the boss lets me get off. Right? Genuinely care about me. And there's research that shows that typically, all right, Gallup did this. People don't leave good companies. They leave lousy bosses.